What's up, Twitch and YouTube? It's MurphyD55 coming to you with another episode of Around the Gjallarhorn, and tonight's guest is one of my favorite streamers out there in the community, my guy MUTality, aka MUTality7, aka Slutality, if we can say that. I don't know if YouTube will allow. I might have to bleep that out afterwards. But MUTality, I appreciate you coming in, man. Really appreciate you taking time out of your weekend to sit down and answer some questions and kind of put yourself out there for my community and let them know a little bit more about you. So thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me on, Murph. Definitely, we had to hit a little audible, but I'm glad we got to sit down and do this. And like I was telling you earlier before we even hopped in, I've never really done a podcast before, so definitely interested to see how it's going to go down.
Absolutely, man. You know, I still don't know if I've technically done a podcast. I don't know if this qualifies as one. I call it a podcast. You cannot find it on Spotify, though. So, you know, maybe I haven't done a podcast yet either. Maybe this is our first podcast right now. Who knows? But, man, I do appreciate you sitting down with us. And, you know, we'll keep the questions, you know, then not necessarily just Madden related. I want to kind of get to know you a bit as a person, kind of the origin story of how you became MUTality7. I wanted to learn about that 7 too on the end of the name as well. Maybe we can start off with that. Okay. MUTality7. What is the 7 for? Why is it there?
All right. So the 7 was my basketball number. I played basketball most of my life, obviously in high school and stuff. So that was kind of where it came from. And so there's actually a Twitter user, just MUTality. So MUTality was actually taken. No followers, shot. 0 tweets. And the last thing on it, the account was created in 2011, so it's just like a dead account. And I tried to talk to Twitter about taking it over, but they didn't let me have it.
That's wild. What does Twitter owe this guy that has 0 tweets and 0 followers? Like, he must have some pull. He must be either a high-ranking Twitter official or you'd imagine it's probably like a random name generator that came up with that name in the first place. Yeah. But, I figured it was as much. So you played basketball growing up. Were you big into sports, you know, throughout your, you know, childhood, young adulthood?
I was definitely big into sports. 'Cause both my other older brothers played basketball, so I kind of was getting my ass kicked by them, in the front yard and stuff. So that's kind of where it came from. And my oldest brother actually played college basketball.
Oh wow! What college did he play for? Was it?
He went. It's a D2 school, Eckerd College, in Florida.
Oh, that's awesome. So, what position would you have played growing up? And your brothers too, for that matter. Were you guys kind of similar build, similar height, or were you guys all different skill sets?
Well, my oldest brother in high school, he played basically center, because if you're tall in high school, even if in college and stuff, you're gonna have to play a different position. He's 6'7", so in high school he had to play center, but when he got to college, he was more of a 3-4. He was like a small forward, power forward.
Yeah, nice.
And then I'm a point guard.
I was gonna say you strike me as a point guard. I don't. And what was your game? Were you more of a distributing the ball, you know, kind of making your teammates around you better? Were you more of a sniper, 3-point type shooter? What was your skill set?
I'm a floor general all around.
Yeah,
I'm a floor general all around. Gotta get everyone involved.
I will say, as far as, you know, being members of the council and whatnot, you certainly are a team player. So that kind of that floor general kind of you know, build, if you will, it seems to suit your personality on Twitch as well, man. But that's pretty dope. And what was the highest level of basketball that you played? You play high school would have been the highest level for you, or did you play it all post-secondary?
High school was the highest I played. I mean, I talked to a couple smaller D2, D3 colleges about possibly going on to obviously continue in college, but I think I liked the route I took. Obviously, if we transition into that, I ended up going to Florida State and graduating from there in May, so I definitely liked that route. Nice.
And Florida State's a good party school from what I've seen, at least from the
it definitely is.
Yeah, and do you have you know, a lot of your friendships and whatnot? Do you stay in touch with a lot of guys from your high school days, college days? Who are the friends that you kind of hang out with the most when you're, you know, off stream and doing social stuff?
It's definitely a mixture of both. I stay in touch with a lot of guys from high school, and some of the guys from some of my main friends went to high school and went to college with me. So those
dope.
Are kind of we went to Florida State and came up together and stuff like that. So
nice. Was there a fraternity version of MUTality? Were you part of any frat? I know that's a big thing down in the States. In Canada, we don't really have those. They don't exist here. But
I
Were you
didn't
getting?
end up rushing, but one of my best friends was in a fraternity, so I was kind of like the one of the frat guys that wasn't technically in there. I was just like at
Yeah.
all the parties,
So you got to go to the
just tagging
parties,
along.
but you didn't have to get like paddled
Yeah,
and
yeah,
go through
yeah.
the initiation
I didn't have
rites.
to get spanked, but I got to
Yeah.
go. Even though I kind of wish I got to get spanked.
Yeah, seriously, I know. Now that's what your chat does. Your chat fills in and kind of lets you live vicariously the fraternity experience. And so I'm already learning a whole bunch about you right now. So FSU, a big Division I school, great football program. Who would have been some of the big names that were playing football when you were going there? Like, was Jameis Winston there at the time? I'm trying to think. Like, I'm trying to go back in time now and think
Yeah,
of.
so it actually we were kind of down bad for me right when I got there. So actually my the a little backstory for that too is both my parents graduated from UF,
Yeah.
Florida, which
Oh
is
yeah.
a big rival, and I
Yeah.
was
No
a
kidding.
big Gators fan growing up.
Yeah.
And my brother ended up going to Florida State, and then one time when I was in high school, I came up to visit him, and then I kind of just fell in love. So then obviously ended up going there. But he was there for the good old days with Jameis Winston, Dalvin Cook, all that
Yeah.
national championships. As soon as
Yeah.
I got there, we were actually our opening game freshman year for me, which was I think 2017. We were ranked number 2 coming into the year,
Yeah.
and we were playing Alabama number 1. It's a opener, so we're playing Alabama. This is supposed to be a preview of possible a college football playoff
Yeah.
matchup later down in the year. And then our quarterback ends up tearing his ACL, and we get blown out. And then for my next 4 years, we're pretty poverty.
That's brutal. So like kind of going to this iconic football school and then having to kind of sit through what might have been the worst like 4 years in team history.
Yeah.
But did you like were you guys known for like basketball or anything? I don't watch a whole lot of college ball.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys have any other good athletic teams to watch at least?
Yeah, that's actually funny you say that because that's like right when we started. We've been pretty good in basketball kind of in the early 2010s, but we've really transitioned to like a great basketball school. We got Leonard Hamilton, one of the best coaches, and we've started to get a lot of like big time recruits that we used to normally not get. We got a lot of guys in the league, obviously Scotty Barnes, Patrick Williams. So we've been getting a lot of good recruits recently. So I really
Nice.
like the direction Knowles basketball has been going. Hopefully we can get the football back on track.
Yeah, and that's an interesting name, Scotty Barnes. I'm a big time Raptors fan, and we picked Scotty Barnes this
Oh,
year
yeah.
over Jalen Suggs, who was kind of like the consensus pick. I think we picked third overall this year, and a lot of people thought we would take Suggs, but
I know.
Twitter was going
big-time,
crazy when we took
I'm
Scotty
a big-time
Barnes.
Thunder fan, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
really wanted Scotty Barnes. That would have been like a perfect mix because I obviously love Scotty Barnes watching him at
Yeah.
Florida State, and then I'm a big Thunder fan, so I wanted us to get him bad, but it
Yeah.
didn't fall that way.
He's kind of, for a guy that I thought, because I hadn't heard anything about him going into the draft really, and with streaming, it kind of takes away from my ability to watch Raptors games. I stream at
Oh,
6
yeah.
p.m., Raptors games 7 p.m., so I really have been down bad, like as far as like being a basketball fan in general. But the Scotty Barnes got he's like 6'7", crazy wingspan, but he was more of a point guard, I guess, for you guys down there, from what I'm hearing, like distributing the
Yeah.
ball. Yeah,
That was the big reason we actually ended up getting Scotty Barnes is he was heavily recruited by a lot of other schools, Kentucky, any school you name. But the main reason we got him is because we said we were going to allow him to play point guard, and the other schools
Yeah.
said no, you're not going to play point guard.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of wild. And his skill set, like in the new NBA, like you talk about being a floor general yourself. Like the idea of like having like an archetype or a position is kind of going away now. Like everybody
Yeah.
has to be able to kind of play at least 3 different positions. Like and really you want to get guys who can play anywhere 1 to 5 on the field or on the court rather. So I talked a little bit about this with King Cobb when I had him on there. Like, what do you think of the new direction like of basketball with like everybody having to be able to shoot, everybody being super long and athletic? Do you like the new style of gameplay, like as opposed to the gritty,
Yeah.
hard-nosed defense?
I think it's a good style for the NBA just because it's like you can't key on one person. If you have like every person like who can kind of dribble, who can shoot, can kind of facilitate, do a little bit of everything, and then switching on defense like pick and rolls and stuff, like that's obviously the big main point of
Yeah.
like NBA pick and roll defense. So if you have people who can just like switch all around, guard multiple positions,
Yeah.
I think it is really a good asset. And Scotty Barnes is that I was a little worried, honestly, about how Scotty would transition to the NBA, just because I know his shot was a little bit shaky, but
Yeah.
I think nobody ever questioned, like, obviously his length, his defense, his passing ability. So, but he's been pretty good so far.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like he's a lot more NBA ready than I would have thought. I thought this was like a guy we'd be talking about 3 years from now about potentially making a difference. I didn't think he's going to be plugging in and potentially being a long-term starter for us right off the bat. So
Yeah,
a
for
pleasant
sure.
surprise there. So what are some of the things outside of Madden and outside of the on-stream life that we all kind of know you for? What are some of the things that you enjoy doing like in your spare time? Like any hobbies, interests outside of like video game sports?
Obviously, in my spare time, I like playing basketball since I
Yeah.
did play it. I don't play as much as I should play anymore. Obviously, once you get a little bit older, you're a little
Yeah.
washed up, but it's still good to get out there with the boys every now and then again.
Yeah.
And even if you're a little washed up, like the cardio's good just to like
Oh
get
my
out
god.
there.
Yeah, playing defense in basketball is probably the best workout that you can do. Like trying to man a guy up, it's exhausting. Like for me, I don't think I could survive a game of basketball at this point in my life.
Yeah.
I'm so far out of it that it's even when I was in my peak physical condition, basketball was the one thing that would gas me out like more than anything else. So like,
Yeah,
where do you guys play like pickup games like outside? Do you guys have a gym near your house that you guys convene at?
We have a gym kind of near us that's like in a neighborhood that we have to kind of like basically break into, and
Yeah.
then we go in there and play in their gym.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome. And it's is a lot of your high school college buddies that you kind of
Yeah,
do with?
a lot of people from high school that even played on the high school team with me, so it's obviously fun to like play with them.
Nice. So obviously I imagine like with how busy you are, creating content for Twitch, YouTube, staying on top of like Twitter, do you find that you have a lot of time to kind of do your outside interests, or is your
No.
schedule fucked right now?
No, zero. It feels
Yeah.
like there's zero time. There's never enough time, is there, Murph?
Yeah, that's why I'm glad to get you on here, because I know how valuable, like, you might get only a couple hours a week where you can kind of sit back and relax and do something not Twitch related, and you're spending your time here. So I really do appreciate it for that reason, man. But you're right, like I feel like a 36-hour day, I would still not have enough time to do all the stuff that I need to get done. It's wild.
For sure.
If we could, like, if there was like a pill, I mean, maybe there are pills that exist for this, but if you could just take a pill and not have to sleep for 6 hours a night, that would be a miracle, Like
Yeah,
we need those
I'd get
hours.
more done. Just go through the night.
Yeah, 100%. But we're trying to keep it legal here too. There are pills for that, I believe, but they're not. I wouldn't recommend anybody in the chat try those pills. So what I wanted to kind of talk about first was, as a content creator, like, how did you first get into the idea of not just playing video games, but getting out there and putting out content? What platform kind of drew you into the whole mix of being a content creator first?
Yeah, so obviously I had never really wanted to ever stream, do YouTube, really do anything like that. I'd never really streamed or had any aspirations to stream before, and then obviously I had made that Twitter account, formerly MUT21 News and Intel, back
Yep.
before the start of MUT21. So it's like the summer of MUT20, and I know a lot of you guys,
Yeah.
like you, Fendler, a lot of those
Yeah.
guys kind of, that's when you guys came up, was
Exactly, yeah.
MUT20. So, but this was way before I was even into the Twitch. I didn't even know anything about Madden Twitch or anything back then. So I kind of had just made that Twitter account, and it was mainly just to tweet out the cards and kind of troll EA. It never really expected anything like this to ever happen. And then once it kind of started blowing up a little bit, I had people who were like, "Yo, you should do YouTube. You should stream." I would watch. So then I was just like,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, maybe we give this thing a try.
Yeah, and so when you're putting out these tweets and the guys that are kind of encouraging you to kind of like get out there and actually put your face out there, like, did you even have a picture of yourself on your Twitter account at this point? Do they have any idea who you were, what you look like, anything about your personal life?
And I have a lot of those people. I have a lot of people who I had started group chats with. I have like 2 or 3 like Twitter group chats with probably like maybe 30, 40 people in there. And
Yeah.
I still have those now. And some of those guys don't even come to the streams or anything anymore, but I still talk to them all the time. And so those are some of like my first followers ever. And like I just
Yeah.
talk with Mud about them, and not even Mud. I'll play Call of Duty and whatever with them like late at night and stuff. So those dudes are like super cool. But yeah, a lot of those guys had kind of talked to me about streaming, and then some of the first times whenever I did my a face reveal for the first time ever, they're
Yeah.
like, "Dude, I thought you were like 12 years old." Like,
That's wild. Man, do 12-year-olds even use Twitter? Like, what would you say is, I don't know if there's statistics out there for that. Like, would you have any idea what the average demographic of your Twitter followers are? Like, is
The
it
average-
probably, yeah.
I don't know. I would probably say it might be like 12 to like 14 maybe, but I'm sure
Yeah.
we got some old heads on there too.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like the more I think about it, the more I feel like a fossil, like in this content creation game for video games. Like 33 years old is how old I am. I'm essentially a grandfather in this thing, you know, and I'm still new to it and learning it. Because it's true, a lot of the people that are out there consuming all this video game content, super young, elementary school type kids. It's kind of wild to think about. It's hard to be an adult sometimes and like, you know, be a grown adult when you're kind of, you know, dealing with, you know, children a lot. 100%. Now, did you remember, like, was there a certain promo or something where things just really, was it like kind of like a gradual increase of viewers, or not viewers, of people on your Twitter account when it first started out, or was it kind of like one promo in particular that things just started going crazy for you and you're like, damn, what's happening right now?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest points in the Twitter was about, I think it was maybe September of last year. Madden 21 had first kind of started, and some random article had come out, and I had somehow been the first person to come across it about new legends coming out this year. It was like Joe Namath, some of those old guys we had never gotten in the last couple of years. Charles Woodson, like some of guys like that we haven't had in the game since like 15 or 16. And I guess I was the first person to stumble across that article and had tweeted it out. Yeah. And I don't really remember how many followers I had at that time. Maybe 1,000 if that. But I would guess it was probably a couple hundred. So I would get maybe 10 likes and I would be happy. But so that one actually kind of did numbers, and I'm pretty sure Zerk and ScoMo had retweeted it, and Zerk had kind of DM'd me like, "Yo, where'd you find this? Is this legit? I want to use this for a video." And like stuff like that, and that tweet had kind of gotten like 50, 60 likes, and I was like, oh my god, holy shit. And I got like 100 followers that day or something. Like
like how much it, like at that point your noties were probably going off. You're like, what the hell's happening with my phone right now? You walk away and you're like, damn, like, did you even have noties turned on at this point? You can't, right?
You can't anymore. Back then, I did have noties on, though. So, like, every like, I'd be like, oh, I got another like. Yeah. And speaking of that, too, back then, one thing I used to do, too, for the first couple months is I used to post memes. I used to post Madden memes all the time. I would be, like, late at night, like, trying to cook up funny memes to post on Twitter. And if they got, like, 10 likes, I'd be like, oh, yeah, this thing's rolling. Like,
that's wild. So you were dropping dank memes before it was cool then?
Oh, yeah. I was cooking up Eric Dickerson memes back then before it was cool.
That's wild. And so with you know, so Twitter was the first platform then that kind of got your foot wet in the content creation game. And then did you end up doing YouTube first or Twitch? What was the first domino to fall?
So they were almost simultaneously. So kind of from when I created that Twitter account back in July, from July to basically November, I'm just tweeting out, and then kind of around November, December time, people are kind of trying to tell me like, yo, you should stream. And then I hadn't really streamed. I was starting to get around in the Twitter community a little bit and at least know a lot of the guys, because I know the people, like, because I've been on Madden YouTube for a couple of years. I've known, like, obviously the Zerks, the CCs, the Gut Foxes, but I didn't know, like, some of the other guys that are actually really big on Twitch. And getting into the Twitch community, I definitely think it's important to be a viewer for a little bit before you're an actual streamer. And so I definitely watched Twitch for a couple months, probably November through, like, January. I didn't pop a stream. I was kind of just intaking. You pick up on little things from other people, what you like to see, how people control their chat, how people talk. So I was definitely picking up on that a little bit. And then I'll never forget my first stream I ever popped. I don't have a PC, or I'm not even doing it on a laptop. I'm doing it off a console. No face cam, no mic. Yeah. And so I'm like, should I tweet out the link? So obviously all the guys in my Twitter chat, group chat, are like encouraging, like, yo, just tweet it out. Yeah. So then I pop it, I tweet it out, and then like immediately there's like 40 people in there, and my heart's like pounding. It's like my first ever stream. Like I've never, like, so I'm trying to get the mic working. I see everyone typing in the chat like, yo, we can't hear you, we can't see you. Like, I mean, I'm like freaking out. It's like 5 minutes. Like, yo, it's a black screen.
You're exposed. You're exposed there too, right?
I cut the stream, and I was just like, yo, this is a lot.
Holy shit.
There's a lot more into this than you think there is.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. It's like, and that's something for me. Like, I'm a fairly private person myself. Like, like at social things, I'm outgoing. Like I'm fun at parties, but like I don't like to. It's hard to put yourself out there for the first time in real time. And then when you have an issue, like for me, like when I first started streaming, if I had like an audio issue or like a drop in frames issue, it gives you anxiety and your heart rate goes through the roof. Like, because you're problem solving in real time, and you pick the smart move there, cutting stream and getting the hell out of there and revamping for the next day or whatever. Like that's it can be a lot, but 40 people in your first stream is almost unheard of.
I know a lot of people kind of start from the ground up, and I kind of came up on an unconventional path. The first stream, just 5 minutes in, I had like 30-40 people in there, and I'm just like shook. I didn't know what to do. So then basically kind of after that, I cut stream and didn't stream again for probably another month and a half.
Wow.
And just continued to take in more Twitch. I was like, I'm not ready for this. And then about early February, I was like, I want to start streaming, but I'm going to do it the right way. I'm not going to tweet the link out at all. I just want to try to grow a little bit organically. And I'll just plug it into my specific group chats I have with the couple 40, 80 people in there. So those guys were kind of in there for a lot of those. And then I found a couple people, but obviously, as you know and many people know, without any other platforms and just starting from scratch and just streaming Madden, you're not going to grow very much. It's very hard to kind of grow.
Yeah, 100%. The networking is a huge part of it. Not the whole, like, by the way, I'm streaming in an hour type networking where I'm sure you get a lot of that in your chat, and I get a lot of it in mine too. Yeah. Where, there's that type of networking, which is not effective. And then there's the, like you said, being a viewer, like cultivating friendships in the community, or at least people that you trust kind of. And then those people are going to want to see you succeed and hop in to see what you're all about. And it's a good point you brought up about being a viewer first, because one person I think about who's kind of made the leap to streaming and has done a really good job of doing just that is, It's Live. Like, I've noticed that he really became a viewer. A lot of these celebrity type streamers, guys who already have a big platform and people would already want to watch them regardless of whether they've ever, even logged into Twitch or know what it is. He did a good job of, like, you see him in chats all over the place, like checking in with people and becoming a fan first. So definitely an important thing. And who were some of the streamers, like, when you first started watching? Like, were there people that were kind of influential or little tips or tricks that you picked up? Like, you see somebody doing something, you're like, I really like the way they do that. I think I could do my version of it, or was it more?
Definitely some of the people I took off and kind of looked up to starting Twitch is definitely Fendler. Yeah, Fendler was definitely someone I obviously a lot of people in the community look up to Fend, and some of the stuff you take little things here and there, like the way Fend greets you when you come into the chat is just something that is definitely special, and you want to try to take a little something like that. And Fritzy's another guy I try to take things from too. Definitely kind of goats we got in the Twitch world, Madden.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's and that's funny because I think back to when I started streaming, and Fendler was already kind of going like that. He's kind of the guy who gave me the push to start streaming in the first place. I never had an inkling of wanting to stream. I was starting to just enjoy Twitch during COVID and be like, there's actually some cool people out here. But then you see, like, the connections that streamers can actually have with people, and the just the kind of fun that you can have, like, in an online setting, like stuff that I was never exposed to that. Like, I was never I had MSN growing up. I had, like, I would be in contact with my IRL friends online, but the idea that you could, like, meet strangers on the internet and, cultivate friendships out of it and take something from it is kind of cool. Now, between, like, where you started out streaming off of a console, when did you decide to kind of go the PC route and kind of invest in the whole stream setup that you have right now?
Yeah, so kind of going back down the timeline. So back in, I think we were in February, where I was kind of just streaming to those Twitter chat guys. I feel like our average was around like maybe 5 to 7, and I'm still at this point. I do have a mic at this point, so at this point I have my Xbox headset mic, no cam, and just off the console. So that's kind of how we're going at this point. And then it gets to around like late March, and I was like, all right, it's about time we kind of try to level this thing up a little bit. I want to I'm thinking about names, and I'm thinking about graphics. You kind of got to plan this out. And so I'm planning names, planning graphics, and then I hit up Xerxes, and I'm like, yo, who's a good graphics guy? Can you point me in the right direction? And then he led me to McCullough.
Yep.
McCullough obviously does great work, does tons of stuff for everybody in the community. McCullough definitely cooked up all my graphics, had me looking good.
Yep.
And then I pulled out like I'm still in college at this point, so I got my old school laptop that I get it somehow hooked up and running. And
Yep.
and later on down before we get to the PC, the laptop's crapping out on me, and we have to do a lot of shit on the laptop to even get it to like stay up. But so back in March is when we kind of made the transition to laptop and face cam, and then we have graphics, name change, all that. So that's kind of the big point there.
Yeah, and that's a big jump forward. And was it something that you looked at it as like a business investment when you went out and actually put money down on a PC, or were you more just like, I'm enjoying the process of streaming at this point, I want to be able to do it better, or like, you know, not have to deal with the crappy issues of dealing with that inferior technology? Because I think we've all been through it where the setup isn't what you need at the moment, you know?
Yeah. So at that time, I was just using the laptop I already had for school, and then I asked people what's the cheapest mic, cheapest cam to get me started, and obviously everyone kind of goes with the Yeti. I still got the Yeti now, and then the old 920 Logitech $50 cam. I mean, and getting on the topic of equipment, people think you need a lot of equipment to get going, and you honestly don't. I mean, whatever this Yeti, $80, maybe it was $50 for the Logitech, and find an old laptop, something to just at least boot it up and get some overlays on. I think that's kind of all you need.
Just a beater that you can work, you know, drive it into the ground, and you know, it's served its purpose anyways for you, for sure. And it's true, you don't need to have $1 million stream room like some of these, you know, huge content creators have. You can do a lot with just I mean, I do think the face cam and the mic is necessary, you know, to have that growth. So when you first started streaming, were you typing in the chat as the guys came in there?
Yeah, when I first started streaming, I was typing back to people before I got like the headset mic.
Yeah, and it's so much easier too, like being able to have your hands free to actually just play the game, and you know, pull up your Twitter feed and whatnot, and it's kind of a necessity. And how does your Twitter generate content for your stream? Because you know, I've noticed that it's kind of part and parcel with your stream, because I was like, you know, I'll be, you know, looking for the new Legends to drop, and I'm like, damn, MUTality's streaming right now. How is he going to tweet this stuff out? He's live right now. Like, I can't multitask at all. But you kind of make it a part of your stream. Like, you'll be live when a lot of this news is breaking, right? And there's so much pressure to get it out immediately.
Yeah, so we're normally always live for kind of the content drops. I've definitely kind of found like that's the market, kind of where my channel is right at this point, is kind of being live for the drops. And then obviously I need to get them out quick on Twitter. I can't be lacking on that. So kind of as soon as they're dropping, it's kind of like chat knows, like, give me a couple of minutes. Like, this stuff has got to go out, like, right now.
It's honestly, as soon as I catch wind of the fact that new Legends come out, like, I immediately I go to your Twitter account. Like, if I'm live, I'm like, okay, I got to go see if MUTality's got it out. You always have it out. I've never clicked on and had you not post the players. It's like, it's insane. Is that a lot of pressure to like always be by your phone or your PC like at all times?
It definitely is kind of a lot of pressure sometimes, and it's funny you say that. There's never been a time where you felt like I missed it, but yesterday I actually did miss I missed the Legends for probably like 45 minutes. I had just crashed right after work and woke up at like 7 o'clock, and I was like, oh shit, I never tweeted out the Legends. Bro,
you know what? The funny thing is that I actually noticed that yesterday. I was like, no, it's got to be a mistake. That, you know, I like, people were telling me that it was going to be, what's his name, the Chiefs guy and Walter Jones or whatever. I was like, no, it's not on MUTality's Twitter. It must be fake. I was like, I was pulling up.
It's got to be a fake.
I was pulling up. So I went over to EA's account and I see the blurry images. I'm like, there's no way people are deciphering the two players out of these blurry ass images. That's hilarious though. But you know what? At this point, you've kind of built yourself the following where I think you've given yourself a little bit of leeway, you know, like even in the middle of the podcast right now, if EA decides to drop some Zero Chill teasers, you got to be ready to go. It's like, no, podcast is off right now. We're we're tweeting at this point. Which of these, like, so you've had a lot of growth. You're partnered on Twitch and on YouTube now. Is that correct? Like, you're a partner on both platforms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm monetized on YouTube.
Yeah, and what platform do you think gives you the biggest kind of potential for growth? Like, do you see one of them as being the key to success for you?
I definitely think YouTube is kind of where you can make a little more money, and it's better kind of like you can blow up a lot easier on YouTube, but it's definitely a lot more. YouTube is a lot of work, and I recently just got a new job back in September, so kind of with that, it kind of came down to like it was like one or the other, like either streaming or doing YouTube. I basically had to pick at that point, and for the first couple weeks, I was basically doing all, and I had just ran myself into the ground, and I just knew it wasn't going to be sustainable. I was literally waking up at whatever 7:30, get off for work at 5:30. I'm starting stream. I gotta eat immediately. I'm starting stream from 6:30 to 9. As soon as stream ends, shower. It's like 9:30. I'm like, okay, I gotta get thumbnails. I gotta record, and then all of a sudden it's 11:30, midnight. I'm still editing, and then I'm got the video ready to post. That's set out to go the next day, and I see it's like 1 in the morning. And like, okay, it's time to bed. Let's do it again tomorrow.
Man, it is like, you know, something that people don't appreciate maybe as a Twitch viewer is the amount of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. It really isn't just that you press the go live button and you're just hanging out and playing video games for a few hours as anybody would be in their own living room. You know, it's a totally different thing, and the behind the scenes can be like burnout is such a real thing. And you were talking about like even only a couple weeks into the new Madden already dealing with burnout. Like it's almost instantaneous. You try and live that life for a month, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. So how have you kind of found balance now? Do you feel like you're in a place where you have kind of a good work stream life balance, or are you kind of still working through it at this point?
I mean, I'm always still working to try to get it a little bit better, but there's some obviously things you can't change, like your work schedule you're not going to be able to change. So it's kind of just like filling in the gaps kind of around it best you can. I've kind of got the best I can do right now, kind of just keeping my streams at like 2.5 hours max at the most, just so I have a little bit of time for me at night where I'm not feeling like I'm either obviously at work or streaming.
It's honestly it's essential to kind of have that balance, and I don't even think personally that I have it right now. You know, it's like just like you, I got the 9-to-5 job too for me teaching, and it's that alone is tiring enough. Like anybody who goes to work and does just 40 hours a week or more, that's enough to be exhausting in its own right. And then you have a side gig going on, or 3 side gigs like you have going on, and it's a lot. That's kind of like a generational thing too. I feel like, you know, at least my parents' generation, it's like, you know, you put your time in at your company and that's it, and then you have family time afterwards. But now it's like, I feel like more and more people, young people and young professionals now, that everybody seems to have a side gig these days. It's like a gig economy, I guess. I don't know, but so that's one thing. You know, I think we all kind of struggle with finding that balance. But have you still been able to, like, do you still put out YouTube content fairly regularly, but not on the daily uploads at this point, or are you taking a break from it altogether for a bit?
I think I'm just kind of taking a break from YouTube at this point. I haven't posted in probably a month and a half, and I don't know, I just don't see when I'll be able to get back to it unless you're kind of dropping the stream. Because at this point, I just don't think I can do. I just remember the first weeks of Madden when I had the job with the Twitch, with the YouTube. It was miserable. I wasn't having fun, and I don't want to go back to that.
Yeah, 100%. Like you know, if playing video games becomes unfun, then we've lost the life at that point, you know, because that's kind of supposed to be our escape from the regular 9 to 5. It's supposed
to be my fun break from the 9 to 5. It just felt like it was a 9 to midnight. It was just a never-ending job.
Exactly. No, it's funny because when I had Call Me Spree on here too, and it might not even have been on the podcast, but he mentioned the exact same thing. You know, he kind of grew his YouTube first and then tried to do both at the same time. Can anybody do a job and do both? I don't really think it's possible. Everybody that I've talked to who's done both, it seems like it's impossible.
It kind of depends, obviously, on your upload schedule and your stream schedule and your content.
Yeah.
I think it is possible, obviously, but the way I was doing it, I was balls to the wall. I was daily uploads. I was trying to really grow my YouTube, obviously, and kind of the way my content was, it was based on the content coming out at 10:30. I was a lot of new gameplays. I was a lot of trying to be the first to it, and obviously, if you're not to the first to it, it's not really gonna hit. It's not like I can get off work at 6 and go do a team of the week gameplay on a new card that dropped at 10:30, and everyone's gonna want to go click it. I'm not big enough to where people are gonna want to see that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, have you what was I gonna ask you? I was gonna say when you started coming up, I noticed that you kind of collaborated with a bunch of other guys who are again like both multi-platform content creators. I noticed that you, Chuflaka, Ferdy were kind of collabing on a lot of stuff, like, you know, when you were pushing for partner and whatnot. How did you kind of connect with those guys? Like, where did that come from?
I'm trying to think exactly how I really connected with a lot of people. I think a lot of times I was just in people's chats at that time, just talking, being active in chats, and definitely Ferdy and Zerk were definitely two people that kind of helped me get started on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, like what software you're using to make thumbnails, how do you edit, where are you putting ads, how do you what tags do you put, like there's a lot of stuff that goes into YouTube as well that they kind of helped me with and guided me a little bit on starting there.
Yeah, and your kind of friendship with Xerxes, did that all start from that one article that you found when he reached out to you, or had you already kind of been going back and forth talking Madden before that?
No, I think that had kind of started from that, and and that's the crazy thing about this community too. I feel like a lot of guys, I mean, it's not even like big or small, like everyone's just kind of like cool with each other. Like these are like real life friends. Like I'll chill with Chew and play Halo like we did the other night. I'll DM Zerk and we'll play some Call of Duty. I'll Snapchat Ferdy and we'll talk in Discord. Like,
yeah, is that what's going on Snapchat? I wasn't sure what Snapchat was for. I thought it was for lewd pictures being sent back and forth.
I might send those too.
Yeah, we won't talk about that though. We don't want to get any TOS violations here. But yeah, it is kind of cool. Like, you're right, Madden is kind of a unique community. Like, it's not by any means the biggest community on Twitch, but it does seem to be one of the more inclusive communities, which is funny because when you think about, you know, competitive Madden gameplay, it's probably gets as toxic as any game, you know, like guys go wild when you're getting cheated by the game. You know, tempers are running pretty hot. But you're right, like, you know, somebody with 27,000 followers on something could be chatting with somebody with 27 followers, and it's you don't see that in a lot of places. Now, you mentioned, like, I know you played Call of Duty on stream before. You played a variety of different games, but Madden, I mean, you have MUT in the name. Madden is the home base, clearly, with a name like MUTality. Do you have any kind of vision of ever branching out from the Madden community, or are you just enjoying it right now, like, for what it is?
I'm staying, obviously enjoying it for what it is, but I feel like every streamer should want to get to the point where they can stream whatever they want and not feel kind of any pressure. Not like I feel pressure I have to stay in the Madden community, but just kind of just play what you want if you want to get to that point.
Yeah, for sure, and it kind of comes across as more genuine. Like, really, it's weird to me, the fact that I've probably only played Madden for the last, like, 3 years. Like, that's weird. Now that I think about it, it's weird. How did it become Madden for you? Like, how was that the game that, like, did your original Twitter account kind of, like, because you're a basketball guy from what you're telling me, like, you kind of grew up on basketball. Was 2K a game that you ever played, like?
Yeah, I still play 2K a lot. Honestly, off stream, I'm mostly playing 2K. I'm usually Madden out by the time stream's over. On the weekends, I hit up some of my boys. We'll be in the rec, in the pro-am, or we'll be on Halo, we'll be on COD. I don't play too much Madden off stream anymore, to be honest.
Probably for the best, like, mentally. It can be exhausting. Like, Madden's not a very forgiving game, and you know, what do you think about the state of Madden this year? So you're obviously on next gen. Like what do you think about the state of Madden from a gameplay perspective this year, from what you've seen?
I mean, it's always gonna have flaws. The gameplay is never gonna be perfect, but I feel like there is a couple things that if it was just touched upon, I feel like it would definitely increase the game. Mainly the drop picks, because honestly, defense is just very difficult, and it's definitely tailored more towards to the offense. So I feel like when you finally do get someone to throw that book or finally make the right adjustments and you're not rewarded for it, it is kind of heartbreaking at that point when you're trying to like fight back into it. You finally made the right thing. He finally threw the bad read, and you just didn't get rewarded that time.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, the drop picks go both ways, too. I mean, I'm sure that's what the devs are saying. They're like, oh, yeah, well, if you're dropping picks, your opponent's going to be dropping picks, too. But I think, I guess what people really want is consistency. They want to know that if they do a certain action at the proper time in the proper location, they're going to be rewarded with the proper outcome. But I guess that's what the random number generated, the dice roll. Is that what the drop passes are?
Yeah, the RNG and like you said, I think it would just be consistency, because obviously it's not like some of us don't ever cheat others. Obviously, you almost cheat others as much as you get cheated. But I think everyone just kind of wants the even playing field and just know exactly if the ball's gonna hit your CPU in the hands, that he's most likely gonna catch it, and it's not gonna be like sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, like ideally, like for if the game's working the way it should be working, the Skimbos of the world should win every game against a shitter like me. Like there shouldn't be a scenario where somebody who sucks at Madden beats somebody who's really good at it if they're, you know, both locked in and doing their best. But that's, you know, I've seen really good players, you know, lose to guys that are just sweats but not necessarily skilled. So I mean, that's kind of there's always going to be issues, I guess, but you know, this year compared to last year, would you say it's any better, or would you say it's taken a turn for the worse?
Honestly, I know it's really easy to look back on past Maddens with the nostalgic feeling, or oh, it was better then, but I mean, during Madden 21, I remember people shitting on it just as much as people shit on 22 now. But
it's a constant thing. I think you're 100% right. I think every year we're not going to be satisfied with the game, and maybe that's, you know, does the perfect football gaming experience exist? Probably not, because I mean, football is not perfect in real life either. But what about like from a content perspective? Because Madden 20, you said, was when, like, the end of Madden 20 is kind of when you got into, you know, Madden content, and that was probably the worst year for content ever with COVID hitting, and I remember by March the game was dead. Like there was like no content that year. So last year felt pretty good, I think, from a content perspective as far as getting a lot of players. What do you think about this year, like with what you've seen rolled out?
Yeah, I think this year's actually been pretty good so far, too. I know we kind of, that's another thing, too. People are never going to be happy. You drop some juice cards, people are going to say, whoa, those cards are too good. The game's going to be dead by January. And then they drop some cards that might just be some type of theme team cards, and then people were like, yo, this card fucking sucks. Nobody's going to use these cards. Drop some good cards. Like,
it's true.
It's a never-ending battle.
For sure. Like, I remember when the rookie premieres this year dropped, and they had, what was Jamar Chase, like 91 speed 91 or something?
91 speed, I think,
Like, in August, like, literally not even September, we have 91 speed players. I was like, whoa, wait, like, where do we go from here? There's 99s in the game now. The Brandon Cooks, I've seen people using him today with 99 speed. Like, in your, if you were the one rolling out the content here, like when should players be hitting 99 speed, like chemmed up, like in your opinion? Should it be like the last couple months, or do you like having the kind of god squads early in the year just as a player?
I mean, it's a difference from hitting, because there's people that say, yeah, the Brandon Cooks obviously is 99 speed, but it's kind of like, you have to have the limited, you have to have the power up, you have to have your double strats, you have to have 50 out of 50 theme team. So it's not like you're running into 99 speed Brandon Cooks every single game, which people kind of, I feel like, make it out to seem that, everyone has 99 speed Brandon Cooks. That is not the case.
It's true. Like, are you rocking with all the double chems on offense and defense at this point in the year? Do you have them all?
At this point, I have double wide receiver strats, and I have one DB and one CB. That second DB one has eluded me, and I've kind of just taking the L at this point. I haven't rolled in probably a month or so. It was kind of draining my coins earlier, but as training and coins get cheaper, I'm sure I'll be hunting for it again soon.
For sure. And so you probably got the one of the in the zones and one of the island ones. That's what I had for a while.
Yeah, I got one in the zone, one island.
Yeah, it's funny because I kind of went crazy, and I guess I would have gotten kind of lucky to be able to have all four of them at this point. Also putting in a lot into my team that I probably shouldn't have. Probably you know, help me along that way. But like, I can't imagine where I would be without having all those strat cards. I'm not a good enough player. Like, I need to have a god squad to compete, I feel like. So you know, but then you see guys like W who can go into weekend league with a no money spent team and win like 24, 25 games. Like, so you know, I guess there's ways around it. You don't necessarily have to have 99 speed to compete.
For the average person, not having any strat cards, you're putting yourself at a huge advantage. Obviously, the super comp guys like W and shit, you'll throw them together, 85, scrap together, no money spent team, and they'll pull out 18, 19 wins. But for the most of us, we kind of need every advantage we can get.
And I think EA knows that. I think they're very creative at finding ways to kind of drain people's bank accounts with the pay-to-play kind of content. But what do you think about the strat cards being in game this year as opposed to last year where we had like you know, the physical chemistries? Actually, the main years that I've been playing MUT, it's always been physical chemistries that you can add. Are you a fan?
Yeah. So going into the year, I think all of us were kind of a fan of strat cards. But as the year kind of got on and saw how expensive the strat cards got, I think a lot of people got turned off on it a little bit. Because at least with Sprinter, we kind of knew a set amount of how much it was going to cost. And then Strat kind of just put in a whole nother roll the dice game into it, too. Some people got all 4 for 500K. And some people put in 2 mil plus and maybe still don't have all of them.
Yeah. I honestly don't. 2 million coins is insane. Like, I've heard horror stories about it, and it's hard to believe, you know? Like, I probably put in, I want to say 700K, and that even is a sinful amount. Like, when you're, especially early in the year, when you're trying to build your team, like when coins are at a premium and training's at a premium, I kind of feel like I preferred the training version, but that's, you know, as a guy who, you know, puts a fair amount of money into my team early in the year, I kind of feel like it always gave me an advantage, you know? For no money spent, though, it's definitely the getting training early in the year, it can be tough. Do you think that these strat cards that we have now is the final iteration, or do you think we're going to have like strat cards later in the year that come out where it's like +1 speed for every position on offense, +1 speed for every position on defense kind of thing?
Yeah, I've seen people talk, like we talked about that earlier in the year. I've seen, and I wouldn't be surprised if it comes like Super Bowl time, Easter time, and they bring out some special legendary strat cards or whatever they'll call it, where it could be +1 speed for receiver and running back, or DB and DNs or something. I wouldn't put it past them, to be honest.
Yeah, and then we're all gonna freaking want to kill ourselves too, because we're gonna have to do that same grind and lose all our coins again. Although hopefully we'll all have stacked binders at that point. What's your binder looking like now? What's the coin stack at on your MUT team at this moment?
I'm trying to think what my coin stack is. It's probably kind of down bad. I think we might be at like 500, 700K, but we do have a lot of kind of assets in the binder right now, and teams looking pretty solid right now. So I'll just definitely kind of stack up during zero chill, see if I can find any kind of methods, see what's going on with that.
Now, do you feel like you kind of rely on other people to find methods for you, or are you kind of like, you know, finding stuff on your own, like just kind of checking out the auction house? Are you pretty savvy at that, would you say?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I definitely will take methods from others, and so I get a lot of stuff from my Discord too. There'll be people in my Discord all the time just talking random shit, and sometimes I'll take something from someone and then build upon it. Rerolls, I'm always doing rerolls on my own, and I'm always I have spreadsheets for a lot of my rerolls, and I'm trying to see what's good. Definitely seeing if taking the lower cards and selling those on the block, and then getting the high ones, quick selling those, and keep re-rolling. Like I'll kind of find some methods with the re-rolls during Most Feared and during Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving not as much, but during Most Feared I probably made like 5 million coins off re-rolls. I'm pretty sure I pulled 10 limiteds off those re-rolls.
Now, were you doing a lot of that on stream, or do you find like off stream you'll do a lot of your re-rolling and stuff like that?
I actually didn't do any of that on stream. I kind of wish I did, and I pulled I think 8 of those 10 limiteds in one night, and I kept posting them on Twitter like limited after limited. And it was super late too. I think it was like midnight or 1 in the morning, and I kept saying, I was like, next limited I'm booting up, I swear. And I pulled like limited number 5, and I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna boot up.
Yeah, no,
keep
none of this
re-rolling.
time.
I'm like, yo, this is the sixth one. I gotta boot up. This is like a method. This is nuts. Like,
that's
and
wild.
I just never booted up.
That's when the gods have smiled upon you. That's kind of reminded me of when I briefly for like a couple weeks played MLB The Show. I pulled like 3 Mike Trouts in one night, and I was like, what the hell is happening right now? Like, this never happens on stream, and it never happens in Madden for me. Like, I just don't have luck like that, you know? And then meanwhile, I'm looking at Fritzy's Twitter feed today. He's like, limited number 167.
Limited number 900.
Yeah, it's like, I'm probably lucky if I get 5 of them in a year. You know, but you know, I did enjoy last year doing the training variety rerolls. Do you think that's something that we're going to see again, like, for sure later in the year? Is that, I mean...
I think it's going to come back at some point. I don't remember exactly when it was implemented last year. I believe it might have been, like, February, March-ish. So maybe expected around that time frame. But I definitely think that was fun for the whole community. One, it made limiteds kind of affordable. So even if you weren't ripping the pack yourself, most of the limiteds in that pack got to around 300 kind of quick sell value. So you could pick them up. And it kind of gave the people who were no money spent or people that don't spend a lot on packs kind of an opportunity to open up the packs and kind of feel like you were ripping for stuff.
Exactly. And it's true. Like, I remember from Madden 20, like the Taylor Mays golden ticket was like 6 million. It's like at one point. And then last year, the best ones were maybe 500,000. Most of them, like you said, worked their way down to around 300. I liked it. I was a fan. And you know, making those cards accessible, especially late in the year, like, you know, the all money spent guys have already had an advantage for like 6-7 months at this point, where their team is so much better than everybody else's. So I think having a training reroll late in the year kind of gives a bit more parity and lets those no money spent guys catch up a little bit, and feel like they're not you know, struggling like they have been the rest of the year. Now with the Zero Chill promo coming out right now, you already mentioned to me, I think it was off stream, that it's kind of a crazy time for you, like on Twitter right now, like with all the new content. What are your thoughts on the first drop of cards that came? Because I think there's 5 drops planned in total for the promo or something like that.
Yeah, so I mean, the first drop I don't think was super crazy. Definitely kind of just like a introduction. I think in years past, the first kind of Zero Chill drop hasn't been anything super special. So I don't think this blew anybody away. But I know in years past, normally once Christmas gets a little bit closer and we start getting like Ghost of Madden, better out of positions cards and presents, and that's kind of usually around when Zero Chill will start to heat up.
Yeah. Are there any players out of this drop that you would try out, like not just from a content perspective, but guys do you think could actually fit in on your team right now?
Yeah, I mean, I was sleeping on that Calvin, I think. I
mean,
it
looks good.
I know he's 6'5" and huge, and I was just like, do I really need Calvin? And then after I saw that +1 with the training, plus that other strat card, I saw him like 97 speed on non-theme teams. I was like, all right, Calvin's kind of a must. I'm going to have to get him at some point this promo. Yeah,
that was kind of the kicker. That strat card, when that popped up, and I was like, damn, he's faster than Ronnie Lott now on my theme team, and he's 6'5", and even like if you could potentially put him in at user, like he'd be like a better version of what Cam Chancellor was early in the year at that height, and with that speed and excel, like... And I'm missing Cam. I'm missing the dominant Cam now. Now that he's like a 95 speed card or whatever, you can't really use him as much. But yeah, I think I got to go pick him up. Well, he's probably going for what, like 400, just over 400K right now?
He's actually not that expensive. Because I've seen some people in my Discord talking earlier, like, yo, the Masters are only like a little over 300. I think Calvin and Peyton were holding around 300, kind of steady, a little over. So that's not that bad.
Dang, that's actually super attainable. That's the nice thing about Masters, like cards that you can build, is that they're not going to cost you the same as like a Legend when they come out on day one.
Yeah, 100%. If they have a set, they're kind of going to have like a ceiling. They're not going to be more than the 393s that have to go into the set or whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly. And what about the Cordero Patterson with human joystick? Is that one that you would try out, or like what's his like? I saw some people with him 98 speed on a 50 out of 50 Raiders theme team. Like, that would be kind of cracked.
Yeah, I actually saw him 99. I'm pretty sure you can get him to 99 if you hit him with the power-up, the 50-50s, the double strat, and the Zero Chill. So, I haven't got him yet. I kind of only have a couple House Rules wins. I haven't played too much, but I'll definitely get him from the House Rules, and we'll see if we kind of fit him in the lineup anywhere. I think I'll be able to find a spot for him.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, as far as, like, Ghosts of Madden, potential, like, releases that are coming up, like, are there any players that you'd like to see released, like, over the course of the Zero Chill promo?
Um, I would love. I don't even know if they have his rights, and he hasn't been in the game for a little while. I would love a Walter Payton. I feel like we haven't
Yeah,
got a Walter Payton in a couple years, and he feels like a Mutt staple, but we
yeah,
haven't got him in a while.
yeah,
And for a current guy, I would go with a Kyler. I don't even know
yeah,
if I would get to use him, but if he gets past Lead Elite and escape kind of like Boomer does, I
yeah.
might be able to give him a try.
Now you say Boomer. Have you been trying out that Boomer Saison card,
I
or have
haven't
you?
tried Boomer, but
Yeah,
I have watched people and played against a Boomer that was kind of cracked, and I was
yeah,
getting pretty frustrated with how good he kind of is.
yeah,
So if it's like, and I'm not that good with lefties, but if we get a Kyler, I might be able to
yeah.
test out a Kyler. See if
Dang,
I
is
like him.
Kyler Murray left-handed? Am I just
No,
realizing this now?
Kyler's righty.
Oh, Boomer Saison's a lefty.
Boomer's
I
lefty.
I hate using lefties. I don't know. There's something like
Yeah.
that's. I feel like I miss out every year when Vic comes out and his stats are insane. I'm just like I just can't get used to rolling out. I just can't trust that he's gonna make that throw. It looks so weird, but yeah. I think Kyler Murray too. Like his best card now is probably the '89 Team of the Week or whatever. Like he's kind of feels like he hasn't really been getting that many upgrades, and he's probably an MVP candidate. He could potentially get
Yeah.
a really good card at the end of the year if they end up running the table and finishing with a really good record.
Yeah, he definitely deserves one.
Yeah, in CFM he's cracked. I'll tell you that much. I think they give him like 94 speed in CFM, so he's fun to play with off of Mutt. What about last year? I'm trying to think. Like for theme team pieces, last year was good for my Niners theme team. I think they had Jerry Rice, Rod Woodson drop for Ghosts. Like they had a lot of good. I think did we get a Bo Jackson last year as well?
Yeah,
For
Bo
Zero
Jackson
Shell?
was actually the best present, I believe. And
Yeah,
I remember last year presents were mostly an L, and Bo
yeah.
Jackson was like the main thing. If you had Bo Jackson as the present, you came up good. So
Yeah, yeah, and I think you were saying Walter Payton. I think was it Madden 20. I think Madden 20 we might have had Walter Payton because I
yeah,
remember
I
he
think
kind of carries the ball like a loaf of bread. Like he has it
yeah,
in one hand and he like feels like he's got his arms fully extended when he's running. It's like it looks like he's gonna fumble every time.
yeah. He's like swinging it out wide. I think he was in the NFL 100 for Madden 20.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's definitely a dope card. And I was gonna say, is it because you're a Bears fan? But I know that you're not really a fan of any particular NFL franchise.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is
Yeah.
true. I don't have any NFL ties to a specific team, but I do. I mean, I play tons of betting, DFS, fantasy teams, so I feel like I'm
Yeah.
tapped into kind of every single team. I kind of know what's
Yeah.
going on around, but I don't have a favorite team I follow.
Yeah. So when you're watching Sunday, are you watching like NFL Red Zone and just like strictly coming at it from like a highlight, fantasy play perspective, or do you kind of tune into the
Yeah,
end of the
but
week?
I'm normally watching my bets too. So normally, what me and my dad do a lot is we obviously have our main living room TV out there, but
Yeah.
we'll take the cable boxes and the other TV from like every other room in the house and end
Yeah.
up getting like a little like 4 or 5 TV setup like.
No way.
Yeah,
That's
so we'll get
wild.
like we'll get 4 or 5 TVs set up. Obviously, have Red Zone on one,
Yeah.
and then kind of get 1 or 2 games depending on our fantasy matchups, and then get a game or two depending on if I got any money line spreads in, and then we
Yeah.
got games on the previous. So we kind of got everything covered. If something's going on, we're normally watching it.
Dang, so you got a 9 to 5 job, you got your streaming content creation, and then you're a bookie on the side as well. You got all the neighborhood people coming over to place bets. That's
Oh, yeah.
wild. Nice. And how's fantasy looking? Like how many fantasy leagues are you in this year?
So I'm in 5 fantasy leagues. I think that's the most I've ever done. I normally
That's a
don't
lot.
like doing that many. It is really hard to keep up with that many.
Yeah.
There's obviously, if you're in a bunch of fantasy leagues, there'll be a couple that you care about more. So I
Yeah.
kind of have my main league that's been going on for almost 10 years.
Yep.
I've been in it with my brother and some of his friends, and that league's coming down. This is the final week of the regular season, and if I win, I get in, or if the person behind me loses, I get in. So there's a couple scenarios where I can slip into the playoffs. So
Nice.
I need a big showing from my team this week.
Yeah, solid. And I started out, I swear, like one of my fantasy leagues, I was 0-4. I accidentally dropped Mark Andrews trying to pick up another defense.
Oh, man.
And then I went on a 7-game win streak, and now I'm in second place in the league. So you know what? Like, you never know. Just keep fighting. Fantasy football is like it's a dirty mistress, man. Like, you
That's-
never know what can happen on any given Sunday.
That's funny that you said you accidentally dropped
Yeah.
Mark Andrews because the other night I had picked up your Vikings defense
Yeah.
Wednesday or Thursday night for this game.
Yeah.
And apparently, when I picked up the Vikings defense, I had put my phone down and like never shut it off or
Yeah.
exited the fantasy app, and I guess in my sleep I ended up dropping like 3 or 4 people from my starting lineup. So I wake up the next morning and I'm trying to see if I put in for the Vikings defense like Wednesday night, and I wake up Thursday morning to see if I got them off waivers, and I see I have like my whole lineup's like almost missing. Like I dropped Justin Herbert, Antonio Gibson, like I dropped like a lot of good players, and they're just gone. I'm just like, what is going on? I'm freaking out. I literally have to like text the commish like, yo, I must have like sleep dropped like 4 guys. Like, can you add them back to my team?
Sleep drop. That's hell. That's like code for like you drank too much and rage dropped your entire team. Like that's. Do you think he bought your excuse? Who sleep drops players?
He added them back in the instant. And the funny thing is, the commish is the guy that we're fighting for the last playoff spot this week. So he had to pull my chain a little bit, and like, I don't know. I think you meant to drop those 4 guys. I don't know if we can add it back. We might have to put it to a vote.
Yeah. Oh, that's hell, man. Yeah, I'm honestly like I'm doing 2 fantasy leagues this year, and even that seems like a lot to manage. Like I fucked up this week. I had Dalvin Cook was my first round pick in both of my leagues, and not just a homer pick, but like he just kind of fell to me. I was like, either the 4th to 6th pick in the draft, and he was there, and I was like, you know what? And I sat him in both leagues because I was like, he's not supposed to be healthy. I heard he had a torn labrum. He sits 1 week, and now he's back, and he puts up 200 yards. So I left 30 points on my bench in both leagues. Yeah. And the running back I picked up to replace him on the Lions got COVID. So I'm not doing too well this week. But man, the other thing I wanted to ask you was, we talked Zero Chill. We've talked a lot about kind of your background, about your content creation. I kind of wanted to wrap things up here because I know you're gonna watch the fights later on with some of your boys, right? You got the fights coming. Who's fighting tonight? By the way, is this UFC? Is this boxing? I don't know about fights.
It's a UFC card. I've kind of just started to get into boxing and like UFC lately, so I watch a lot of the UFC fights. So one of the undercards I really like is Sean O'Malley. Sugar Sean's his nickname. Yeah. He's a good one to watch. We got Emmanuel Nunez fighting as well, and one of the I think that's right before the main card and that's Dustin Poirier's fighting too. So that's will be some good fights later tonight.
Nice. I've seen, for some reason, like I don't follow. I used to watch a lot of UFC back when I was in high school because the little sports bar that wouldn't ID people would always have the UFC events on, and for us the legal drinking age is 19, so it's a little bit easier for high school kids to kind of sneak in. But I hadn't watched UFC since it was like GSP, Anderson Silva. Like it's changed a lot. Like I probably would be hard pressed to name a single fighter out there, but lately I've been seeing on my Twitter feed, it's been blown up by all these pictures of Conor McGregor beefing up. Have you seen any of these pictures of McGregor like putting on some mass? Because he had a nasty.
I haven't heard anything about McGregor in a little bit because I know he had gotten hurt and he just hasn't been fighting in a little bit. But that's good to see. I mean, McGregor's definitely good for the sport. Everyone will watch him regardless of box office.
Yeah, for sure. He's he had that nasty, like, what was it? His leg snapped basically. Like it was gruesome to watch.
That was in his last fight. Yeah. And he was sitting on the ground like cussing out the other guy. Like
Oh yeah, man. He's a tough SOB. I'm not gonna lie. Like I find it hard to root against him, and hopefully it is good for the sport to have those big names extend their careers for sure. But the last thing I kind of wanted to leave off with is, what are some of your future goals as far as a content creator goes, and aspirations? Like, where do you see yourself going if everything goes right? Is full-time content creation something that you kind of aspire to?
I mean, definitely full-time content creation is definitely kind of the dream where people would want to be, just kind of doing something you love. That was definitely because when I graduated in May, and I was kind of going full-time basically after that. I was doing kind of everything, and then it got to the point where it's like September-ish, and obviously my parents, I'm still with them since I graduated, moved back home, and it's like they're kind of getting on you, like, and obviously parents don't really understand as much what's going on. They're like, yo, what are you doing? Like, you graduated a couple months ago, kind of what's going on? So we kind of had to have the talk about going full-time. Am I going to get a 9 to 5? Kind of how that's going. And then we kind of both came to the realization you gotta kind of crunch numbers and stuff, how everything's going. That I think it's better at this point, and definitely to get a 9 to 5. And I definitely went to college for finance. I got a pretty good job right now, and I definitely want to try to move up the ladder in that as well. So I mean, it's gonna be both. But obviously, if you could ever go full time streaming, I would do it. But that's a very small percentage of people that can just stream and be full time.
For sure, like even, you know, there's a tiny percentage of people that can achieve what you've already achieved, like that partner check mark. That's an elite group of streamers on the platform, and then, you know, you take off a sliver of that group of partners that can actually do it full time, and it's but, you know, I will say, like, you definitely have the work ethic for it, you've got the content for it, you've got the Twitter following for it. So I think, you know, if you stay on the trajectory that you're going on right now and keep doing things the way you're doing things, I really, you know, I hope that you get a chance to kind of explore that in the future. And but at the same time, you know, it's nice to have that stability. There's something about, and it's good to experience it too. You know, like I think I think everybody needs to know what it's like to work 9 to 5, because 90% of your chat's gonna know what that's like. So, you know, it teaches you about the real world for sure. It's,
I feel like I've definitely been on both sides, kind of. Because right when the new Madden came out, I kind of wanted to be full-time YouTube, be full-time Twitch to kind of see, and it's a lot of pressure to feel like, because I feel like I was kind of like, yo, give me a month or two to see what happens, and it's I think it's a lot of pressure. You're betting on yourself to have to kind of sustain yourself, and then obviously been on the other side of being on the 9 to 5, which is definitely a completely different element. So I mean, I think I've been walked down both roads.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, not to say like betting on you're right. It is a lot of pressure, and it can kind of, you know, taking something that's like a passion and making it your sole means of employment can also kind of it's tough, because I know even for me, like, who, you know, I like my job, like I always want to be a teacher too, and you know, I'd love to do more streaming, but you know, even if I had a crazy month and you know, made a whole bunch of money off Twitch for like an extended period, I still don't think I would leave my 9 to 5, you know, because I enjoy it enough that I want to keep doing it. But you know, it's the months where I'm kind of looking at the sub count, or when I'm looking at the viewer count, those are the months that end up being my worst months, you know, because it kind of makes it into more of a pressure than actually just letting it happen and being 100%. Natural on stream.
I kind of just got into the mindset recently of obviously not looking at the viewer count. Obviously, when you're pushing for partner, you kind of do have to look at the viewer count, know when to cut stream, know your times. But since that, I've definitely got better at, I don't really care how many people are in there. And definitely something too is just trying not to compare yourself to others. You're never going to be, if you're looking at other people's sub counts, other people's followers, you're never going to be satisfied until you kind of, and it's not saying you don't want to better yourself, but it's just not, it's not healthy or good to ever compare yourself to others.
100%. And that's like for anybody in the chat who's like a, you know, current streamer, you know, potential, you know, thinking about streaming, you know, it's not easy. You know, people who have success on the platform, it's well deserved. There's lots of different ways to have success on Twitch, but you're right, like the worst thing is envy, for sure. Like, you know, you want to be able to see those other people and be happy for them, but at the same time realize that, you know, your journey might be different than theirs. It might be completely different, you know?
And you'll never be satisfied, especially if you're comparing yourself to others. So say I want to pass this guy, so I say I think I passed that guy, then there's going to be another guy, and then there's going to be another guy. There's always going to be, it's like life too. There's always going to be someone that has a better car, better house, better whatever. I mean, it's not sustainable.
For sure, like being present in the moment and being thankful for what you have and what you built is huge. And you know, I think that goes for not just you, but for like any content creator out there. Like, it's a very healthy thing to be able to look at what you've accomplished and be like, you know, damn, this is actually pretty impressive. Think about that first stream on console, typing in the chat to the point where you're at now, and it's you know, and that's one thing that I don't do enough. You know, we don't think about the origins, where we started, where we're at. Yeah.
And now, obviously, being on this, talking about it, it seems crazy to think. I mean, started in January, February. I haven't been streaming for a year yet, and kind of looking back on everything, it does feel pretty crazy.
Yeah, you got a wild Noti gang. You got a crazy community built around you, not just like through your platforms, but through Discord as well. Like and you got relationships with streamers all over the place. Like I gotta say, one thing I admire about you, and I don't take it for granted, is that you get chats going like all over Twitch. Like I whatever streamers that I'm watching, like streamers that I just enjoy and I'm popping in, you're in there pretty much. And knowing how limited your time is outside of your job, like that's something that people see and they hopefully appreciate, because that's the most valuable thing we have is time. It's only 24 hours in a day. But
and a lot of being in other chats too. I mean, obviously it is networking starting off, but I don't even see it at that anymore. I honestly just enjoy being in other people's chats, talking to people in the community, watching people. I'm not going to go to a stream that I'm not enjoying. I'm in there because I like the stream.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate that, man, because seeing your name in the chat, I got to say I feel blessed to have people like you hanging out in here, man. And honestly, I really enjoy watching your streams. I enjoy your content and just your getting to know you a little bit more on a personal level. It's actually been like a real pleasure. So I really do appreciate you sitting down and taking the time, man. Really appreciate you being on Around the Gjallarhorn. You absolutely knocked it out of the park. For a first-time podcast guy, you're like a seasoned vet, I got to say.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.